it's not in our best interest to have a lot of risk either.
Right.
And as I said before, if at some point during the development we get to a place where we say, gosh, you know what, this doesn't really make good enough economic sense, we're not going to move forward with this. And we'll be in constant, touch with the staff and so forth, and we'll reach that conclusion together. The other idea that Matt discussed briefly was expanding the assessment. So we'd love to go forward and look at the streetlights and really kind of figure out what the real cost is and get a little bit more detail from the electric department and so forth. In addition, we're offering, and again, this is at no charge at this stage, just to say, if you'd like us to look at City Hall, if you'd like us to look at other facilities, other aspects of the utilities, if you've got projects in your CIP that are out there several years that maybe, if you could pull them forward, there'd be a benefit to that. Anything along those lines we'd be happy to do at this stage. There's no cost, there's no obligation. It's a preliminary look, and we're really just sort of doing some academic work. We're crunching some numbers, getting some data, and so forth. So we'd be happy to do that.
Is that ready? Are you ready for the next one?
We'll go back one real quick.
Okay. All right.
Let me just make sure. Yeah, good. See, you're ahead of me. That's all right. In this slide, just go ahead and click through all the, I didn't realize this was one of those deals.
Builder.
One more. Yeah, the builder. So I talked about the enabling legislation real quickly. I don't want to bore you to death, but it's Missouri Revised Statute 8.231. You can look it up. You can Google it and it'll pop right up. Make facility infrastructure improvements, reduce energy use and other expenses, operational costs. Sometimes, like in a wastewater plant or a water plant, that takes the form of chemicals and different things. It's not just 100% electricity or water or gas. And this graphic shows where the savings, or the project generates the savings that enable the financing of the project. So kind of shows it as a circle. And that's why it requires legislation to enable that, because it's not traditional design, bid, build approach. It's a little different. Next slide. Oh, and then Siemens guarantees the savings. And this is a quick roadmap of the process. So we're right here at this very initial phase, this preliminary phase, where we're taking a look at things and seeing what makes sense for the city, if anything. And we're all in that, we're kind of in that dating phase, right? It's like if it keeps going well, maybe we'll progress further, but for right now, we're just on a date. We're just taking a look at things. So if at some point the city said, gosh, you know what, we really like this, we think we want to move forward, then we would suggest and we would offer an RFQ, and the city would need to issue an RFQ because this does need to be competitively solicited. All of these do. And then once you make a selection, obviously we would hope it's us, but then there's a detailed analysis, and that's when we start walking contractors and we start bringing vendors in for street lights or whatever the case may be, and get to a contract ready state. We negotiate and sign a contract, we install, we do whatever other construction work is involved in the project, and again, that's a huge variety. Everything from biosolids to streetlights to water meters, there really isn't much that we don't touch. And then at the end, regular measurement and verification. So after the project, every year, we're going to have a measurement and verification program where we come back and measure and verify that those savings are accurate. Now sometimes, full disclosure, with purely electrical projects, it doesn't make sense to spend the money on coming back every single year when you can do a pre-measurement and a post-measurement. It's like, look, okay, we're good with the numbers, everybody agrees. Why do we charge you to keep showing up year after year when you know it's going to be the same thing? So there's variations there. But the premise is that we have to measure and we have to verify, and if we're not living up to our end of that contract, we have to write you a check. And there's a table in the contract that identifies, how much that check would be, what are we using for utility rates, how do they escalate, so forth and so on. So that's really it. I think that's the last one. I mean, this is just a little bit about who we are. There's no lack of experience. Siemens is a huge company, and this is, my little part of the world there. But we've done over 1,300. We've probably done over, that slide's old, we've probably done over 2,000 projects around the country. more than that around the world. So that's kind of what we're here to talk about tonight. Any questions? No?
There is a, under electric department, which is Roman number 5, and letter B, that's what I put down a streetlight project. If you wanted to take action, that would be the time. But if you have any questions for Greg, you can do it now. Or are you gonna hang around? Or
Whatever you want me to do.
Where's your office located?
St. Louis. I actually live in Augusta, so I'm in between.
Oh, okay.
Out here in God's country.
I think it looks like something we need to, at least look into.
Okay.
At least get the preliminary numbers. I think if we did the city buildings as well, that would be prudent.
I don't know, it's not really the rate limiting step, but the capacity limitation here is, with other projects going on, how much would the city want to have tied up in a energy savings project, which would be, a long-term loan situation. However, I mean, the net, other than the amount of money that's tied up, it would be a guaranteed, worst case scenario, we break even, so.
Yeah, sounds awesome to me.
But we've been talking about street lights and LEDs. Now, and then the other part of this is if we did switch out our LED, to switch to LED, if it made sense, we switched to LED lights. There was going to be a day, 15 to 20 years now, when if we switch them all out at once, they're all going to be going out.
Right.
And who knows, maybe we'll be putting in the next generation, or Greg and I were chatting today, maybe the next thing is all going to be solar powered lights with better batteries and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure you know that whatever the project, that we would have a guarantee to not lose money. So if you guys want to make that motion later when we get down there, that'd be
Okay.
Moving on to Public Works, there's an activity report in our packet. Any questions or comments?
Is 39 locates, is that about average?
December, yeah, it's actually been a little low compared to what it was last couple of months.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to sanitation. Recycling presentation by intern Danielle Sims. Any discussion?
Now, the bad thing is if the intern's presentation is better than the professionals, that's not.
That's awesome. That's great. At least it's not boilerplate, right?
Yeah. You need to unplug your.
Oh, yeah, I do. I do. I'm getting confused.
I'm not gonna mention
Confused it. Go ahead first. Kept looking at it. There you go. Trade. Let's see here. For a different source. There.
Look at that.
All right, hello again. Just to refresh, my name is Danielle Sims, and this will be my last presentation for the recycling. But last time we saw each other, I did a brief update on our participation, and last time it was May 22nd, and it was an 8.8% participation rate. Last week I rode along again, and it was a 9.4% participation rate. We take data street by street, and this enables us to get a combined participation by taking the greater participation per street and adding those together. and then that gives us an 11.3% participation. So overall, our participation would be around 12 to 13, but on any given week, it could be between 8 and 13. We just don't know.
And just to, so, you know, if we get one person on Adams Street in week 1 but not week 2, but we have a person on Doty in week 2 but not week 1, we know we could add those together. But if we had one person on Tidball on week 1 and one person on Tidball on week 2, we didn't drill down to the point to make sure that those were different, the same or different houses. So when she says 11, when she's talking 11.3 or higher, the most conservative estimate is, because we know we didn't have that same street, the same number both weeks, the most conservative estimate is 11.3%. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Thank you.
So we also discussed taking our materials to Columbia. We actually did take a pilot trip to City of Columbia, but we did find some pretty interesting things. We were told that it's free to give all of our materials. They're separated into 2 groups, but actually it's only free if it's separated into 5 groups, which is what we had. So it's actually cost $25 per ton for fiber and $30 per ton for containers. So with that fact, we researched doing dual hopper trash trucks and how much that would save us for only sorting into 2 groups. So we started crunching numbers and we made this graph. We're hoping that we'll get a 4, 6, or maybe even an 8% diversion rate. So that's what this graph shows. And then, so the orange line, or yellow, however you want to see it, using our current disposal locations of Civic Recycling and Ryan Enterprises. So it goes up pretty steady with our increased diversion. But then the red line is the next 3 lines actually, the red, blue, and greenish, purplish, those are if we took our materials to City of Columbia, but we just changed the method in how we took them, how we disposed of them. So the red line shows using our 2 streams, so that would, the City of Columbia would fee us for that, they would give us a fee for that, and we would have to pay, so that's why that line increases so dramatically. And then the blue line is if we stuck with our 5 streams, and then we took it to Columbia, that would also enable us to combine our glass with colored and clear into one, and then that would also help us because then we could use office paper and chipboard from the schools, which would help a lot. So, and then looks green on that, but I can't tell the color.
Grayish green, yeah.
And so that is if we actually got a green and used and got a trash truck or recycling truck, double hopper, then we would pay the fees, but it would be less of, we would actually pay less because it would be less trips, and so that would be less time for a waste management fee. So that's why that line is so low. Also, the blue line and the green line are not parallel. We took it up to 20% diversion rate, and the blue line actually increases a lot more significantly than the green line. So.
And that's 2% by weight diversion.
Yes.
Now the volume diversion is going to be greater than that because most of the recyclable materials are not as dense as the rest of your trash.
Yeah. So.
Sorry,
Okay.
I get so excited about recycling.
Yep. So tonight we hope to get some direction from you guys concerning any changes that we have. If we want to choose one of those colors per se to go with, and then progress from there. We hope to get some direction. We also hope that we can put some more research into writing a grant and getting a truck, as that was obviously the cheapest. And then, as always, we hope to promote and encourage our recycling program just because vision leaks. So we need to do that. So are there any questions? And I know that you guys have chosen to recycle, and as a member of the next generation, thank you for doing so.
Last time we talked about possibly being able to procure a used dual hopper trash truck from
Yes.
Columbia. Is that still an option?
I think that is still an option.
The grant cycle for the Mid-Missouri Solid Waste Management District, we would submit a grant. A preliminary grant is this fall, I think it's September. Final grants are due in this, what do you probably know, January, and then the actual projects start. We wouldn't be able to buy the truck till probably May of next year. That's if the Department of Natural Resources is happy. They're not always happy, and they've held up all the district grants a couple of times because they didn't like one district's grant. So,
Yeah.
but let's say everything is, the wind's at our back and everything goes well, we could have a truck by May. And and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I hear Daniel saying is that even though there would be a cost of $25 per ton for mixed fibers and $30 a ton for mixed containers, the total cost when you cut down the operational costs is going to be cheaper than the current system. And as much as important as we have been for Ryan Enterprises in Millersburg, at $300 a month and 1 ton approximately a month, I think we can figure out the math. We're paying $300 a ton to recycle plastic there right now. So,
every trip that we take down there,
we pay them $300 a month.
okay. So if we take one trip or 3 trips,
Right, but we're averaging, yeah, right,
Okay.
exactly. So, and we're averaging about, now, I don't doubt him if he says that we're his biggest customer and that if we just pull out, then his business he might close up shop on making a product out of recycled plastic, which is the ultimate goal of any the recycling grants. But I think the argument that is a more reliable recycling program than the City of Columbia's, that has just gone to taking all 7 plastics. I don't know that I can agree with that because the City of Columbia started going to using all 7 plastics because of, according to the tour guide, both times, the citizens wanted it. So there's an investment by the City of Columbia in collecting all 7 recyclables, so we can take ours there, and the loads are about $5 a load because it's 1/10 the cost approximately. So and a much shorter trip. And
so is there fuel costs and maintenance costs and
fuel costs, maintenance costs,
hourly wage and all that stuff?
and the processing cost is approximately 1/10.
Sounds good to me.
So I guess the recommendation from our intern is to apply for a grant at that point, but this time just to move our collections correctly to Columbia.
Do we need to give Ryan Enterprises any type of advance notice, like, when you quit a job or something like that, you need to give 2 weeks notice? But
There would certainly be, for what he's done for us, it would be certainly a courtesy that we could certainly consider giving him a month, 2 months, 3 months,
Yeah.
whatever the council feels is appropriate.
Have you thought of any strategies that we could use to help increase participation in recycling in town?
Well, we're sending news out to the newsletters and just these presentations, but also going to the schools and using the schools because they have a ton of all this newspaper and stuff like that. So that's one of the ways.
Yeah, I think Danielle's been working. Danielle. I'm looking. Has written up a press release which we could send out. She's also working on each month, each October and April we send out a city newsletter, and she's been working on what the city newsletter could look like if we changed our approach to recycling, and also a little bit more encouragement and a little bit more of the advocacy for recycling, I would say.
Have you researched the cost of those multi,
Yeah, we have,
the different trash bins?
we have, but I can't pull the number off the top.
Okay,
We did a little bit of research on that,
okay.
not purchasing one from the city of Columbia, but just Google, tool hopper.
Yeah.
There was one in Florida for 45,000, but yeah, I mean, but that was Florida.
Okay.
New, they run about $250,000.
That's
And that's the trash truck.
yes.
What I'm talking about is like the trash container you put at the end of the hall. It's got plastic and paper and trash, and, you know, it's a multi-bin hopper for, they've got several of them that work now.
Oh, yeah, no, I know there's a bunch of different,
Yeah.
we haven't looked into that. I didn't, did you guys
I
know?
mean, I just question.
Like the big bins, you mean?
No, not like in the hallway or something like that.
Right.
You've got a bin that's like
Like a garbage
three,
can with a
like
lid and a
garbage can
hole
with
in
a lid
it.
that's got
Says
4 different
recycle
holes in
only,
it.
plastic
Yeah.
only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did look at just like, because what we were looking for was in the schools.
Okay.
And there was, I mean, just, it almost looks like a paper box type of thing. And that was $20 for a nice bin that has, the recycling and all that. So we were gonna go cheaper route and print some signs that say recycle, and then go to the schools and say, okay, give us your old paper boxes, and we're gonna standardize the look of the recycle in each of the
Yeah.
classrooms. And put that piece of paper on there and say, okay, teachers, this is only the paper.
Paper recycling.
Paper.
Yeah.
And
The
then
biggest fight we've had with the schools is not putting trash in the recycling.
Okay.
They turn into trash cans, and then it gets so much trash in there, we end up just having to toss it.
As a teacher, I can understand that.
Oh, yeah.
It happens.
Gotta change the culture
yes,
of, you
yeah.
know,
So
the
there's that.
recycling culture, but.
They start with the younger kids and work them up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and to your point, a can with a hole in it for bottles or cans.
I have seen them.
A container with a narrower slot
For the paper.
would keep the cans and the hamburgers and the peanut butter and sandwiches out. If you had a slotted opening,
Really
a
have to
round
smash
opening,
Work harder.
you'd have to dig it out of the 8-track player.
Now they
and dig
just
some,
gave the kids an idea.
Yeah, you could have some concepts to work on.
Okay.
But another thing that we have also worked on is kind of a curriculum for a second grade classroom. To be able to go into a second grade classroom, where we're kind of waiting for school to get back in,
Mhm.
to talk to principals and saying, hey, can we have 30 minutes of your second grade class and do a fun game of collect the trash and divide it out, the recycle, and, do stuff like that. I actually substitute teach, and this summer I tried it on some 6th graders, and it was they had a lot of fun with it. And they were like, at the end I was like, what'd you think of that? And they're like, not the puzzle, don't do this, do this, do that. Okay. So we're also thinking about doing that and trying to get that into that younger generation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alright, moving on to discussion on trash rates for multifamily and mixed-use customers.
This is proving to be a little bit more complicated the more I get into it, and I'm not going to go into any great detail because we've already had a couple presentations and we got some other discussion to go on tonight. But I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. One of the reasons we've been discussing this is we have basically maybe 3 of these in town, but we've got Russ and Stephanie Green's building downtown at 106 West Railroad is a mixed-use building. We've got 4 apartments and 3 businesses right now. So we've approached this by the way we've done with all residential accounts and charged them $17.25 for each user, which comes out to $120.75 a month. They have one dumpster, which we had been dumping only once a week, and that was kind of, barely making it. So we've increased that to one dumpster 3 times a week, a 2 yard. All our dumpsters are 2 yards, and they purchased it. So, and the other thing that's different about our system than a lot of is the dumpsters almost exclusively belong to the business owners. So what we would charge them strictly on a dumpster rate would be $99 a month for picking up one dumpster 3 times a week. So somewhere between $99 and $120.75 is probably the best answer. I think there is a legitimate reason for charging a little bit extra, $2, $3 extra per month to keep track of who all is still using that dumpster, so we know if they've got water, if we also are making sure that they get charged, that they're participating in this dumpster as opposed to a separate dumpster, because I got some other examples. So if we charge $3 a customer, we'd still be at $120, which would be at least a little savings a month. If we charge $3 per customer plus the $99 a month, so 3 times 7 is 21 plus 99, 120. So that's an unusual example of mixed use. With other, and I promise this is not going to get much more complicated, but with most apartments, we're charging the $17.25 per each tenant. So the most, the 525 Southgate, where you have 25 apartments, and I'm 80 to 90% sure I've got these numbers right. We have 4 dumpsters, and we tip them once a week. Does that sound right? At 525 Southgate?
Yes.
For 25 customers, $17.25, it comes out to $431.25 a month. We charge them strictly by the dumpster use. That would be significantly less. It would be $132 a month. And if we charged them if we charged them $3 per customer, plus it would be $207. Now, if we, I think that's a fairer rate. If we did that, however, across the board, we'd be losing about $7,000 worth of revenue.
Every year?
Yeah. So I think we need to keep working on it, but I think it's getting closer. What Columbia does is they have different rates, and I don't want to get too complicated. We're not Columbia. We don't have Columbia staff.
Yeah.
But there is a rate for if you have a dumpster for residential. If you have a dumpster and it's all paid by one customer, the building owner, there's a slightly higher rate if it's dumpsters paid by each individual house or each individual tenant, because then you have to keep track of all those extra accounts. And then there's another rate which is pretty close to ours, which is if you have a single family home, basically. So for multifamily, they have 2 reduced rates. So that's one way to go about it. Or there's the dumpster rate plus how many of our customers are using it. So I would love to know. I think one of the ways we can get back some of that revenue. Either way, we're going to give up a few $1,000s worth of revenue. I think it's probably more fair though. I do think that we need to start charging for bulky items pickup. We've had this discussion. I need to bring back a rate that would be acceptable. We've had numerous times where people have, I think there was one house that had 4 couches out in front of it on Hickman Street recently. We had one that we were pretty scared of. It turned out the landlord did the right thing and hired Danes and filled a 20-yard roll-off container that we didn't even have to do. But there have been several where, I think you said you saw one where somebody set out a piano, and right now we're not charging anything for that. Most cities charge some sort of bulk item or special pickup rate.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of a $15 bulk item pickup rate. Or we could have some, if you wanted to do that, plus a per item, there's like $10 per couch or something. Like it's just one couch, and you can save a little bit of money. We can do that, but I'm thinking somewhere in that neighborhood.
Is there any way to recycle those couches and all that stuff?
Well, yeah, there's all sorts of different ways. But once you put them by the curb and they're there for a couple days and it rains, the options are reduced substantially.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we have a use. We have certainly a number of pawn shop or flea market resale shops.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and if we can work with them, that'd be great. But
All right.
usually people need to set it out themselves.
Yeah.
So I'll bring back a more defined, but I'm going to try and I think we're going to do something fair. We're going to see some revenues. All right, that's it.
Alright, moving on to streets, is there anything under streets?
Still looking at about the middle of the month, hopefully, for street name. I haven't heard anything back, but that's what we were looking at.
That's with Christensen?
Yes.
Storm sewer?
I don't have a date yet. I'll check again with Ace Pipe Cleaning, see when we're going to get that underway.
Anything under other?
I'm just going to really briefly mention this. In the early stages, we've been approached by somebody to try and do something with the mulch, with a hog farm. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but there's a local, the father of one of the guys who work in the electric crew has been looking at trying to take that, combine it with hog manure to help his operation. We've got more than we need. He's not asking us to take it to him or pay for it. He's trying to find a way to make it work out for him, which might involve a grant, which might involve us applying for, which might involve the city applying for something. But I can explain to him, if I'm going to write a grant, it's going to take care of a problem that we have. And mulch pile's big, but it's not that big of a problem for us. That's where we're at. Right? I just want to make you guys aware of it. If I come back and ask you for permission to write a grant, that means he's convinced me that there's something good for us.
Is that like a composting facility then?
It would, at this point, he wouldn't be making a product, but he would be making a much better application for his. He would use it with hog manure to apply it to fields to make better pasture. Is my understanding. Because he's got lots of nitrogen and needs more carbon. I just want to make you guys aware of it at this point.
So why would we have to write a grant if we're giving the mulch away?
Because hauling it would be expensive.
That would be on his expense.
Well,
That wouldn't be our expense, we're giving it to him.
right. Yeah, well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it.
Well, the only thing the grant would do would enable us to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd just give us some funds of some sort just to get rid of all of our.
It would probably
mulch
involve.
stuff.
It would probably more involve helping him write it than, as opposed to a truck in this fall, which would be a benefit. Sorry.
Alright, the electric department, the activity report is in our packet. Any questions or comments?
The power outage early this morning, is that caused by tree branches or something?
Well, not tree branches, but trees,
Tree.
entire trees.
Okay.
Several spots where not just tree branches, but entire trees came down. So the worst one was on Adams Street. It took a second tree down, and they both fell through everything.
Wow.
So they were ones that were a ways, from the lines. That line was actually trimmed pretty well. It's just that when a 60 to 70 foot tree breaks off about 6 feet up, it falls the wrong direction, and that's the way most of these were. Just, we had about 4 spots like that. We had good sized limbs or good sized trees fall through pretty much everything. Break a pole off at 2 locations. still got some work to do, a lot of work to do on Adams Street, but we've got all the power back on. It's quite a mess.
Mark and his crew worked from about 2 a.m., 1:45, I think most of you guys got called out. And I think you were working till after 2 this afternoon.
Right, finished up right about 2:30.
Well, thank you for coming in.
When did you say they started, sir?
1:45?
Yeah.
Is that?
It was about 1:30 when
Yeah, that's when they initially called me, it was 1:30. Yep, that's when power.
And you didn't nod off during either one of your presentations, so that's, that means you guys did a good job. Turned the lights down and stayed awake, so that was good. Good work.
Alright, moving on to the streetlight projects. Do I have a motion to proceed?
Motion to proceed with Siemens to pursue a energy savings project.
I'll make that motion.
Motion and a second?
Yep.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Alright, motion carried.
Do you have a quorum?
At a committee meeting, I don't know if it's as
I believe 4
necessary.
is a quorum.
Oh, he can't.
Yeah, he counts it. Only committee meetings.
Yes.
They never let you vote on anything, Mayor.
He's a full member of the committee.
I could still veto it, but.
Yes.
So are you voting to recommend to the full council, or are you voting to go ahead and do?
We're voting to bring forth a proposal.
Thank you.
Alright, purchasing. The first thing is street light materials. There's 2 bids.
Yes, you have a bid tab there. This is all decorative lighting. I believe on the request it was
But
6 aluminum poles and 4 fixtures. And Butler supplies the low bid, their apples to apples type bid. So,
Do I have a motion to?
Is this something that we need to vote on tonight, or can it go to the full council meeting?
I think that
The,
if you felt more comfortable waiting for the board meeting on both of these, I made sure that the prices would be good for at least 30 days. So, on the street light materials, we've, at this time, see, we lost 2 more just last week along Jefferson Street. And so we moved a couple in a more discreet location over to Jefferson. So at some point, I mean, the longer we wait, the longer it takes to get them all back up where they belong. But we've got them in a place where
So
I
if
think
we wait for
it
the
will-
regular board meeting, can you get 2 more on that bid?
Well, I added that quantity. It was originally for just 4 and 2, and I upped the quantity,
6.
yeah, a couple of days before the bid requests were due, or the bids were due. So I've already upped the
Okay.
quantity, yeah.
Okay.
So,
It doesn't matter to me. They were competitive bids. Whichever you guys are more comfortable with, we can live with it either way.
Okay. I just seem to remember the auditors like to spend money at the council meeting, not so much at the committee meeting unless it's an emergency.
I'd say wait if we can wait.
That's what I was thinking too. Thanks.
Alright, then we also have another, purchasing item, bids tab for the locator.
all right, we have a bid tab. We got 5 bids back for, this is to replace our locator for locating the underground lines and locating underground faults. When lines go bad underground. And the current locator we have is, I'm just guessing around 25 years old. It was here when I started 20 years ago. And we budgeted for one just to replace, and ours has not been working properly lately on the fault locating, on locating the underground. We recently had to go to Macon and borrow one to use. So got the bid there for those, and it's all the exact same 3M Dynatel locator. It's basically the newest model of what we currently have. And Wesco has the low bid at $4,127. And I forgot to double check the budget number, but I think we budgeted $4,500 for that
I
purchase.
believe that's correct. Let me check it real quick. And yeah, the amount that we budgeted for a locator is actually, make sure I look at the right number. I believe it's 5,000.
It might have even been 5,000, okay.
Yeah, 508 cable locator, and yeah, $5,000. I didn't, what did I look it up? Oh, he's right. You looked it up on the budget?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, the budget, in electric, 3134, 508, we have $5,000 budget.
Okay.
And then we're gonna wait, I guess.
And same way, I mean, I asked that the price could be bid for 30 days on that bid, just in case we needed to wait for the board meeting.
Boring project?
In your packet, there was an email from Pam Hageman of CHMG. That's not right, BHMG. We have obtained the permission from Kansas City Southern. And they are going to honor the $12,500 permit fee per bore. And if we do it within 150 days, which goes to December 11th, they will not charge us an additional $2,000 processing fee.
Yay.
So, last time we had sort of decided to put it off till next budget year. There's a certain $2,000 cost to doing that now that we've finally gotten the Kansas City Southern bid. We could probably get it all done this year. It'll almost certainly be over budget. However, if we could, one thing we would probably do this time is have an option for doing only one bore in each of the locations. You remember we're looking at, just for everybody, we're looking at a bore under both rail lines here, and then there's another bore over here, first under Norfolk Southern, and then under Kansas City Southern. I may not have the exact location, but we were going to put two casings
8-inch casing?
at each location. So we could make an option of one. It will probably be many years before we need the second one. It is important, especially important, that we get the bores done to free up to give access to the Wilson Street substation, which we're $1 million plus project, to make use of more of those circuits. So I guess I'm bringing this up. We can make a decision in 2 weeks, but I'm leaning towards going ahead and trying to get this done this fall and saving the $2,000.
You said it would most certainly go over budget. That's because of the time constraint at this point?
No, well, last time we bid it, if we agree to pay the cost of the flag man, that would, the two bidders that we only got one bid, and it was significantly over budget. I don't remember exactly how much.
45,000 or something.
Yeah, it was significantly overbid. But one of their biggest concerns was the unknown cost for the flag. If we eat that cost, if we decide we will take that risk, we could probably reduce the cost of the bid significantly. I still think we're gonna probably end up over budget unless we agree to only do one bore. Now, if we ever need that second bore, you know, it would be significantly cheaper to do it now, but we're probably looking at something that we won't need for another 10 years.
At least, I think,
Figure that was conservative, but
yeah, no, I think,
So the cost of doing 2 bores at each location versus the cost of doing 1 bore at each location. 2 bores would throw us significantly over budget.
if we go to one bore with an you see what put the second bore as an option
Yeah.
at each location, and then agree to take on the cost of the flagman. We're gonna cut the cost, and we may be able to get it under budget this year. And we're gonna save we know we're gonna save $2,000 with Kansas City Southern.
I can hold a flag.
You can, but you may not.
So
Our railroad permits, were they for 2 bores or were they per bore?
they were for 2 boards.
Yes, yes.
That email where it shows, talks about Kansas City Southern was confused, saying that, yeah, it was, you know, each bore was $12,500 permit, and they were going to go underneath them 4 times. And that's, yes, I guess there will be 4 pipes, but we're only 2 locations, so it should just be 2 permits. And that's,
Yeah.
they were, for example, right, I don't know if you're looking at that in the first paragraph there, the total of $25,000 for the both permits instead of 50. They were wanting to try to up it, double it basically. Charge $12,500 per conduit casing.
So she just said there's 25,000.
Yeah.
The second pipe can come in handy in time. I mean, it could be short or long, depending on development on the north side of town. And both of them that go under Kansas City Southern, when you go kind of towards the northwest part of town and the northeast part of town, I mean, there is premium property at each, you know,
Well,
those
I'm
corners
thinking
that
those
if you
are-
needed to build a dedicated circuit to a manufacturing plant,
Yeah.
the conduit would be there.
I mean, there's probably gonna be more business type
Right,
expansion on the north side of the tracks,
right.
so I think that's gonna be necessary to have that option going there. Yeah. We'll do what's best.
So we proceed towards getting bids prepared, or a bid packet prepared for this year. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think so.
Which is exactly the opposite I told you a few months ago, but we at least know what the.
Well, we had
This is Southern.
significant changes.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and they want to put a deadline
Right.
of that 150
Because
days.
Norfolk Southern was fine going all the way into next year. So at that point, there wasn't any, but yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Sorry, Mark, I interrupted.
Going on to water and sewer department, there's an activity.
I have another.
Oh.
There's no other.
There's no other on
I
there.
know, I saw that. I guess I'd bring that up as may arise, I don't know.
Make it deep.
And we can add
Yeah.
an E.
We had been talking about the meter transponder situation,
Oh, right.
and,
Yeah.
and I didn't catch
It's okay. Yeah.
catch it in time to
Yeah.
get that
Yeah.
on there. But the meter transponders that go in our regular single-phase residential electric meters, we are stuck with one company, Blue Tower, for now. And those have significantly been increasing for a number of years. When we first started the project, they were about $55 a piece. Well, most recently, they've been a little over $100 a piece. And that's just for the transponder. I mean, the meter itself, someone else makes it, it's $35 a piece. So I've been buying them just kind of about 10 at a time, been using probably about 30 a year between new homes and just others that have failed now that they've been in the system for 10 years or so. So I asked for a quote on 10, and we can't even hardly give you a quote anymore on that few quantity. And well, what about 50? That'd be $138 a piece at that quantity. If you're willing to go up to the quantity of 100, then we'll drop it down to $100 even. So, but you're looking at if we purchase 100, which should last us, I think, anywhere at least 3, maybe even upwards of 5 years, kind of based on most recent usage. And that's $10,000 purchase. And so, which is almost a tenth of our budget for buying transformers and poles and wire and that kind of thing.
Is there another company out there that makes this, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, there are other companies that do this, and it's something that I think at least we ought to be considering in that 3 to 5 year period is what will it cost to
Transition to that new.
right, but it's a whole new system, you know, most likely. You know, it's
Everything
just-
that we've been doing is based on reading the water and the electric both at the same time.
Okay.
And we may have to go away with that.
And see, and right now, we're already using 2 different systems to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the blue tower just did not work for the water department. It just did not work. So they switched to a different system already. And so we've got 2 receivers, 2 antennas going into 1 computer right now when we read the meters.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already kind of done that, but I mean, that was a significant cost to, you know, to start. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking another receiver and the software and everything to read the meters and to download that into our billing system. And so, and not to mention replacing then every transponder in every meter again. You know.
The only good news that I can see about this is if we buy this one and then start looking at another system is, if we do that, and I know Greg's excited about this, if we do look at a different system, the next system, if we can keep it at similar cost, would be nice to have a 2-way system, particularly for electric, because last night is a good example of when I called in to let them know my power's out. I said, how is it? It says, it's dark all over town. Well, there were places, in various places in town that had a power out. But a good system, the next generation of system would tell Mark where all the outages are. Because they would, you know, they'd give a last
Okay.
gas report.
Yeah.
And there's some other features, so. But that doesn't change the fact that he needs meters now.
Right.
And in 5 years, they'll know more. Right now, we can drive around and get all the readings in about a couple, 3 hours.
Yeah.
That would report back to us, but they're bad. It's
Well,
not
it-
free.
You know, I'd be willing to go ahead and spend that additional money for the 100 meters with the, you know, fact that, hey, we're gonna be researching over the next couple of years a better system or a cheaper system or one that may even tie in with the water system.
It's really early in the year, but at the 3-month period, we had, it showed $15,000 spent, but I think I think there's some encumbered stuff so I think we're beyond 50. So we're gonna be,
We just bought 2 transformers for MFA. And,
right, and those were each,
you know, and those, when we were budgeting for this year, they were not expected.
right.
Yeah.
You know, so things like that always come up, which that will be revenue generating,
Mhm.
you know, so that will end up, I mean, all of it typically ends up paying for itself. You know, the more you put on the system, you end up, you know, that's another account, so that's a good thing. But you just, when you have a year like this, and you've got a major subdivision and a big MFA project and
Yeah.
other things like that going on, and then this, it just kind of, whoa.
We have a fundraiser.
Bake sale.
Bake sale.
Competitive transponders, do you know ballpark what their costs are?
I don't right now at this time. No, I think they're gonna be more in that $55 to $70 range. And so it's still,
You don't think it's one of those situations where they give you a good price to get you in their system and then, you know, once you're locked in there, then you're kind of at their
mercy.
Right, I think there can be a little bit of that, but I think some of the companies that we would probably switch to, that are just, there's more demand for them. I think that's the problem with the company we have right now, is that with the water side, I think they have had a lot of trouble.
It's gotta give them
And so, because I mean,
a less than
Centralia and Boone 4 right in this area are two companies that started out with them, did a system, and then it didn't work and had to switch. And I think that is been
Across the board.
their problem. And so I think, their companies are struggling. And now
Second
we're
one was
stuck.
Blue Tower.
Yes.
Yeah. We have a pretty extensive list of companies we'll work with. They're not on it.
So
That's
kind of
probably
where,
reason.
I think that's why, it's,
It's kind of one of those
we can
decisions
expect.
at this point, when are we gonna cut our losses then?
Or, yes, yeah. Yes.
So how long do you think 50 of them would last? No.
50 is
Well,
138 each.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was, I believe it was $1,900 difference.
Yeah, I think it's.
And then the break-even point was about 72 or 3 units,
Right.
as far as the cost break point.
Is there any other communities around here that are using them?
Not that I'm aware of. Whenever I talk to other cities and they're like, who?
Yeah.
So,
So I'll go to 6,900 versus 10,000.
right.
But you
Right.
get 50 extra units.
Correct.
The last 50 units are, should be able to do this in my head. The last 50 units are about $40 a piece. $42 a piece for the last 50 units. The first 50
It
units.
just kind of kicks the decision down the road.
It does. Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
there's some advantage to kicking it down the road far enough that you can make take some time to study. And
Do some
Right.
research
And that's
and
just-
get the best.
It's
Yeah.
probably the double-edged sword there with the quantity, because it'd be nice to be able to maybe not kick it so far down the road, but yet, we're with the new subdivisions and things, we've been putting in a lot of new meters, so we've been going through that material.
50,
And
if
so
we
we've
get,
gotta have some, and, I can't get 10.
Yes.
so 50 gets us 2 years maybe, 100 gets us 4 or 5 years, and the next 50 units are at a third the cost. So it's just one of those price breaks that makes sense to go ahead and get the 100. And they don't die on the shelf very much, do they?
No, that's no, we've had very good luck with that. I mean, it's actually, as far as the system, it actually has worked well for us. We have very few rereads each month. There's always been about 20. And some of those, they vary for whatever reason. Maybe just didn't get picked up or something. It's not always a dead meter and we've got to replace it or something like that. Sometimes there's other things and they're repairable or something.
It's not exactly like having a Beta Max, but kinda. Because I'm not sure it was better than the other, but
Right.
we're going to eventually have to start switch over to VHS. You'll have to explain that to her later.
Beta Max.
Okay.
For the 8-track, right? So, and that is something I really need to act on.
Yeah.
Which
Which Mark told me about 2 weeks ago, and we do need
Okay.
to take action. There is only one company. The question is, do we buy 50 or 100? There are no smaller quantities we can buy. I don't think we need to buy any more.
No, right, I wouldn't recommend that at this time. I think that will last a sufficient amount of time to give us a good,
Okay.
And staff is recommending
figure out what to do.
Say that again.
Staff is recommending to buy 100 for $10,000 rather than 50 for $6,900.
Is there a motion to buy?
I'll make a motion, we buy 100 of them.
All those in favor? say
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? It carries.
Thank you.
Any other? Anything else I forget?
Don't think so.
Alright. Now moving on to Water and Sewer Department, there's an activity report in our packet, any questions?
Is the line, is that getting a lot of buildup in the water pond now, or?
It's not too bad right now. I'm getting to the point where I need to start thinking about hauling. Once we get the subdivisions done, we actually talked about that today, and
Yeah.
we're gonna try to do a couple. We also got a copy of the new permit for the water plant that talks about land applying that, so we need to do a little investigating on that before I start, to make sure
Okay.
it's gonna work with us for what they're saying with our modification, so. But we're in pretty good shape right now. I don't wanna let it get, now we have to do pump by any means, get to the shape that it was before, so.
Right. I think last time we had to rent that big.
Track over and haul it and make a mess.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Anything under water?
I don't have.
Anything under sewer?
I should have asked you before the meeting, CD form, they never made it in last week, is that correct?
They did not. Weather's still causing issues with them. I'd say within, and it may this week with the weather they're talking to, within the next 2 weeks we should. I might kind of fill you in on one down between Eastmont and Briarwood. We had scheduled to do the whole run there, which is basically from a manhole to manhole, and then from the middle manhole to an existing lamp hole at the end. They wanted us to dig up the lamp hole so that they could make the turn, just go there. We cambered all the way through that line. That line never showed any problems, but while we were doing the stretch, we thought we would do it. I told them, forget that section. There's a sag in the other end that they can't do anything to unless it's raised up and taken out. And they were gonna charge us like $4,800, which was the same amount they were gonna do for that lamp hole. I said, we'll dig it up and take care of that. I just gotta have it get solid enough to do it. And it's between that easement back there and kind of a swell, and it's been wet. And not only dig it up, but I'm gonna have to get rock back there to bed it up, so I'm trying to get it as dry as possible. And as soon as I get that, I call them and let them know, and they'll do that. They're gonna come in and do the rest of it, to get that finished up.
And we may want to actually pay for some landscaping when this is all done. These are people's backyards, but not that we don't have decent landscapers, but it depends on how it looks when we're done. But that was something we talked about.
We've all kind of talked about it. It depends on what our job load is at the time too. I mean, we can get it, we borrowed the park department's little tractor and rear time tiller, and it works good to do that, or we got a rear time to just tilt a walk behind.
But if I
Depends
come
on how
back,
big it is.
yeah. If I come back to you guys and you say landscaping, what's this for? We're gonna try to wait until it's dry enough. There's just a chance that we might want to get a little help, depending upon workload, et cetera, et cetera. It's possible.
Just depends on how dry it is back there when we do it.
Thank you.
Anything under other? And then anything under other? Next item.
Nothing, can't wait a week.
Any as may arise? Any motions to adjourn?
I cannot make a motion.
I'll make a motion with that.
Second. I don't think
All
I
those in
should-
favor, say aye. All those opposed?
I have none.
Alright, motion carries. We're adjourned.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you all very much for coming in tonight. Very informative. Appreciate it.
It'll be on YouTube pretty soon.
Oh,